Timmy Joe reviews anything.
Reviewing computer parts on YouTube.
That's
Woo! Gotta be pumped on that, right, Will? Computer parts! Woo!
Oh, yeah.
What's going on, people? Focus, my name's Timmy Joe, making videos about computer parts on the internet, and I take you back to a time when, hey, you had some money to burn in your pocket, and you really wanted to be the cock of the walk. You wanted to impress your friends. You maybe had a problem with the size of the thingy inside of your whatnot, and you wanted to really prove to people you had the most video cards all in one system. And heck, maybe you wanted to play Crysis with the most frames. This was something that was promised to be like a savior, to where when video card technology was moving so far along back in the 2000s and, up and, a little bit while ago, that, maybe you could just buy another version of your card and then extend the life of your system for a little while with SLI. Not really something that's around these days, though, now is it? Well, I mean, it is, with NVIDIA. With Pascal, you were able to do it in two-way, only officially supported. There were ways to get around that, but, pretty much dogged the performance bad. And now, in the latest generation, you can't even do it at all unless you have a 2070 Super, a 2080, a 2080 Ti, who knows about the other cards, whatever, and you buy a special connector called NVLink, because you used to just get these things, these bridges, in your motherboard box for your high-end motherboard so that you can go ahead and, smash these things together. Now you gotta buy a whole other thing, and it's just become such a pain in the butt. And the game support these days is terrible. In fact, even AMD has killed Crossfire, which makes no sense. Well, it does. It totally makes sense. But it doesn't make sense because they just invented, or implemented, they didn't invent it, PCIe 4.0 with an extreme amount of bandwidth. So these graphics cards could talk to each other. I heard people say this was going to be a new dawn for multi-graphics card support. No. They're like, 1% of our user base uses Crossfire. Let's not waste any time on it. And it's not officially supported. So that's interesting. So I hold in my hand, and the last officially supported more than two-way SLI system, the highest end, 3 G1 gigabyte, G1 gaming, 980 Ti's, 6 gigabytes each. This actually put together, smashed together, might equal some performance that will look pretty damn impressive here in 2019. But we're going to have to smash 3 graphics cards together to do it. And my buddy Aaron, who lent me these, wanted me to buy what would have ended up being near a $50 SLI connector that would have extended this a little bit wider so that I could put them, segmented in my case. And I just decided, hey, I don't need to do that. I have a 3-way connector. I'm going to do it myself, and I'm going to put a bunch of fans around it. We're going to jimmy rig the crap out of it, and we're going to get these cards working on my X299 EVGA Dark motherboard good enough to run some benchmarks, to run some games, and really see how the performance is when you smash 3, literally smash, for God's sakes, 3 of these cards together here in 2019 and see what kind of performance we can get when they're all smushed together with some fans blowing in the heat sinks and some Firestrike running and some games that actually support it. I mean, Crysis 3 will be pretty fun to run. Man, these are heavy. Run on these cards. So let's go ahead and get to the video. But before we talk about 3-way SLI, I want to thank our sponsor, Privacy VPN. Privacy VPN is one of those VPNs that you can just buy and it works and it's good and it's whatever. Because it's a VPN and you need one to stay safe on the internet, don't you? Or at least on public Wi-Fi. I mean, you don't need one, but when somebody steals, your Facebook, nudes, then you're probably gonna get mad, huh? Or maybe they steal your bank information. That's probably worse. Or maybe you just want to use a service to keep what you're doing private on your own internet at home, or surf to other locations, different countries, so that you can browse Netflix and actually watch, different content, because that's something that you can do. You can browse Netflix and see different shows depending on where you're VPNing into. So check them out. Links are in the description. You can get 20% off. They're already very inexpensive services with some codes and some links that I'm going to leave in the description. So thanks to Privacy for sponsoring what will no doubt be a very interesting video here in 2019. The last triple SLI officially supported video cards here on Timmy Joe's crazy, wacky funhouse channel. I'll see you guys in a minute. Let's install these and figure out how we're going to get it to work smushed all together like this. I have the cards sandwiched with the little pieces of foam, because when I did this all initially, they squished together so much that the fans were hurting. And then I got this. Enermax, you can hear it, right? DF Storm fan. This is the most crazy, this isn't even as loud as it gets. Ah! Oh, fuck, sorry. So I'm gonna put that like right there, and that'll blow new air in there. We should be able to do this and do the testing and not have it die on us. Should be good. Air conditioner, tiny AIO, leading to the middle of one of 3 980 Ti's. This is the most ridiculous gaming setup I've ever set up. Most ridiculous benchmarking, and I've hung AIOs out the window in the middle of winter. I've put computers in freezers before, and this has been, well, it's close anyways. You want to see how this performs in Crysis? Come hither. We'll check it out, because this is one of the only games that it really makes sense to do this with, because it's from the era. It's from the era of SLI and 980 Ti's. Come hither. So check this out. We've got, pretty decent frame rate, 4K, and it'll actually get up, you see, in 100. But the rain out there, it really doesn't like the rain. So I'm gonna hide. Well, I don't even need to do that yet. So we're playing Crysis 3, and this game at 4K Ultra is hard for a 2080 or 980 Ti to play. It is hard for probably a 2080 Ti to play, mostly because why are they wouldn't optimize those GPUs for these gaming workloads these days. This is an older game. No one plays it anymore, but it's always that, like, can it play Crysis meme? And I was gonna show other games, I really was. But, oh god, there's so many guys here. Shoot. There we go. I'm gonna hide there, I'm gonna press this button, and we're gonna pick this, because there's a helicopter that I gotta go blow up. Let's blow up the helicopter. Where is he? There he is. Oh, I'm gonna blow you up so good. Boom, there we go. So this is pretty loud, turn that down a bit. This game is very fun to play with this many graphics cards. It's running very, very well, considering. Oh, I'll blow you up so good. I'm gonna blow up these barrels behind these guys. Oh, I died. But you saw 80 to 100 frames a second in Crysis 3, 4K Ultra settings. And to do this, you need 3 980 Ti's. I would assume 2 1080 Ti's, 2 2080s, 2 2080 Ti's would obviously do better. I think that's kind of, I think that this setup with the 3 980 Ti's is almost better than 2 1080 Ti's in SLI. I don't know, I've never done that before. It's fun though. But I'd like to talk a little bit about the struggles that I've incurred trying to get other games to work, and talk to you how SLI works in 2019. I've already done this before. I made a whole video about how terrible it is. But with the 3 cards, I wanted to try and at least see what kind of performance we could get at 4K max settings. That's what you'd want to use for this type of setup. But I'm not going to do it while the computer's blasting away behind me. So just give me a second. I'll go ahead and let's just turn it off. I'll get her all done, and then we'll talk about the performance, but more so the scaling in synthetic benchmarks and how good that is. Ah, much better. Give me a second. All right, the sweet sound of silence. My goodness, that's loud. The lengths I went to do that were just obscene. I shouldn't have done that. So what I could have done, and would have worked much better than that, and was suggested by the guy who sent me the cards, but he didn't want to give me his bridge because they're hard to come by these days. So basically, there's this Gus Parker bridge here, and Gus Parker three-way, it's a flexible SLI bridge and it's longer. So it allows you to put it in that case and, you know, segment the cards. And then that EVGA Dark, because it's an X399, has really good PCIe lane support. So it's like ×8 across all of the, like even the lower ones. So it wouldn't have been a problem to run the three-way SLI with that bridge. And even Aaron was doing it and he was having no problems, you know, maintaining a half decent clock. So the 980 Ti's, those ones, they're like 1380, and then you can give them 100 megahertz boost, or even almost bring them up to 1500 individually in a case. The coolers are very good on them, but a 980 Ti's die is fairly large. And my big problem is, even with that little AIO I put in the center one, as you saw, I've done this before with the an R9 390, which has an equivalent sized huge die. That little rad gets saturated, and if I'm going to keep doing stuff like this, I should actually buy a new Asetek crappy, like mid-range AIO for GPUs, because that one just within like a couple of minutes, I could get that thing up to 80-90 degrees. That's why you saw it on the air conditioner. It was, even with these Enermax DF Storm fans that run at 3,500 RPM, that middle GPU would get up to 90 degrees. And that was better than with the air cooler. I could not get it to work properly with the air coolers at all when they were all squished together. My best part would have just been get this bridge, but it's $33, and it comes from like China or something, because it says August 19th is the soonest I could get it. And every time I looked at this, I was like, am I gonna wait 3 weeks for that bridge and then do the video? I just want to do the video soon, so I'll come up with a funnier way to do it. That's why we did it that way. So, all in all said and done, this was an exercise in futility, because even with my mods there, I couldn't get the damn thing to run very efficiently, because there are loads that will actually hit all three of those 980 Ti's like superposition and saturate that middle card so bad that I need to buy a better AIO for that. The problem is especially in a situation like this, like you saw, I modded that NZXT, I cut it out so that I can actually use it better, I think, without that like hanger thing that it came with. It needs to be like thin, because if you want a graphics card, like you don't want a big honking pump hanging out the side of your graphics card. You know, we will be seeing that probably soon though, because I'm getting a 5700 anniversary edition, and I plan on putting a pretty hefty AIO cooler on it and doing some power table mods. So subscribe to the channel. There's loads of fun GPU stuff happening. But let's get to what this thing's actually good at, the three-way SLI. What it's good at is synthetic benchmarks. It looks insanely impressive in synthetic benchmarks. Like, check this out. This is the Firestrike score. Oh my goodness. And this is the Firestrike score from a 1080 Ti on a 9900K. So you see here, we're not that far off. Like the physics scores are a little bit off there, you know, if you see them comparatively, but we're getting 31,029 with three 980 Ti's. Pretty impressive, but it's that graphics score. It's 20,000 more than the graphics score on 1080 Ti. That's insane. It's just that you lose a lot of the, you know, the score in it actually having to deal with the SLI, and you know, it doesn't scale like quite the same for your total score. But 51,000 is insane in Firestrike. That's pretty cool. What about TimeSpy? TimeSpy 16,000, and on a 2080 Ti. On a 2080 Ti, we're getting 10,128, like 5,000 more points. So this is like really high-end stuff, putting three 980 Ti's together. That is for sure, absolutely for sure. But it's completely impractical. And you want to know what the power consumption is while you're in TimeSpy? Check this out. My power supply on this thing was a 1200 watt, and we were nearly saturating it. In fact, had I been able to push the overclocks any further, I guarantee you I could have forced a shutoff in that system. If I had any more powerful of a CPU, let's say I had a 10 core, 7900, I'm sure I could force that power, like that wouldn't have been enough power supply. I would have had to have added another power supply to that mix, you know, in order to run the 3 cards. So it's just so not worth it. Imagine your power bills if this is how you ran things all the time. So this is just like an exercise in futility, but it was really, really fun to see benchmark scores like this. And then because 3D Mark does like segmentation, I wasn't able to, like I'm sure these loads would have saturated the loop eventually, but that little loop was getting saturated in that middle card. And when I ran superposition, look at the, you know, I was able to finally get it to run all the way through when I put it on the air conditioner, but in the end, it was still saturating that little mini, and I was getting artifacting and stuff near 85 degrees. And it's just because superposition runs so long. And, you know, so ultimately the solution I came up with was pretty stupid. But I got it to work enough for the video, and that's all I really care about. 3-way SLI 980 Ti's is a lot of horsepower. But in my travels, because in order to get that gameplay, you know, I'll show you some gameplay here. In order to get this terrible gameplay, seeing 100, you know, frames a second at 4K in a handful of games here, a lot of bullshit. You have to run NVIDIA Profile Inspector, and you run across, you know, people that are showing you on YouTube or in forums, you know, how to run these games in SLI these days, because no current games run SLI, and that's why I did a video saying SLI is pretty much dead and you shouldn't be using it in 2019. But I see people still using 980 Ti's in those forums more than a handful of times. So people are still using their very high-end graphics cards. And as we'll see in a future video, they're fairly inexpensive, and they're like, you know, they're faster than a 1070. They're probably on par with like a 2060. They're on par with the Radeon 5700-ish. You know, only 6 gigs of VRAM, but that's still pretty high-end. And you can get them for like 220 bucks. You know, 200 bucks even on eBay right now. So they're a bargain to be had for a high-end card, but they're very power efficient and whatnot. So thanks to Aaron for letting me do this. I mean, 16,000 in Time Spy is the highest score I've ever seen on a single system myself. And what was it? There we go. 31,000 in Firestrike. 31,000 in Firestrike's pretty high. That's got to be some... Well, I think with Threadripper, I was getting near 32,000 with a 1080 Ti. So, you know, therein lies the thing. With a good enough CPU, you can offset that score if you really are looking for this number here. But 51,000 graphics score is pretty awesome. So, I'm at Watch Timmy Joe Instagram and Twitter. It's been a hell of a fun time playing around with these in SLI, in 3-way SLI. And I don't know, man. That's an incredible adventure, but it's not something I recommend anyone ever doing unless you're just looking to benchmark stuff. And, you know, I think that's fun, benchmarking, but maybe you don't. I don't know. Maybe it's not fun for you to put a little AIO on the air conditioner to make your graphics cards work properly together. But I'm out watching me Joe Instagram, Twitter. Thanks to Ivacy VPN for sponsoring the video. Thanks to Aaron for sending these cards out for me to have a look at. And you will definitely be seeing some more 980 Ti content because I want to explore it in 2019. I have a review of a G1 Gaming, but it's from like a couple of years ago or something like that. I think if we pair that with, you know, some modern hardware and maybe some older hardware, we could see, you know, that they could be achievable for some high-end graphics use in 2019. I'm at Watch Me Joe Instagram and Twitter. We will see you guys in a future video, I am sure. Thanks for coming along for the ride. You want to hear it one more time? Let's turn it on one more time. That's not even here. We'll turn the air conditioner on too. It's getting warm in here anyways. There we go, full speed. I'll see you guys in another video. Have a good day.